Lots of things cooking. It'll take them a little while, though. Ooh, not so much that, though. Almost. Almost. I'm really running low on food supplies. Derp. I'll come back for that one. But I am not running low on experience, so I think it's time to make yet another... Ooh, I didn't know her ship was here. Pickaxe. Hopefully this one will be Silk Touch, because I've made like the last 3 or 4 not being Silk Touch. Not by any choice of mine, of course. This is not 1.8. Let's see. Let's do it. And, oh my god, that's horrible. That's really crappy. Well, I will, in fact, actually be working... You know, I could probably go back to the ship by that means. But I will be heading back and doing more ship, probably just the ceiling. On the cargo / entry bay in the back. And probably the room, the engineering room above it is my decision, but I haven't quite decided how that's going to work. So we'll do that today. But while we do that, I'm going to be talking about civic hacking and Perl, because a week from the date of this recording, which is not the date, of course, of its debut, I will be giving a talk at the DC Baltimore Perl Workshop on basically why it is Perl isn't particularly popular anymore. Not why it is, but the fact that it is, and maybe something we can do about it by using it in civic hacking. And these are 2 different groups I follow personally, and it seems like, you know, they really ought to get together and benefit one another. So I'm giving a talk to that effect, 20-25 minutes or so. I'm going to practice on you. You can just suffer. Squeak chair, squeak a chair, squeak a chair. Coming up on the ship any second now, and we will see how horribly hard it is to dock in the back. Let's see. There it is. This still lacks the outer skin, but you can see that it looks like something anyways. I still have to get the panels on top. The other one, yes, still hasn't been finished. I did a little bit of work, but I just haven't played much lately. But there's the dock area. I've got it actually back in, which means not going up, but in fact going down. I expect I will not be able to record the whole thing because it will be atrociously difficult and take ages. That would make for a really wonderful episode, wouldn't it? But in the completed thing, there will also be a sort of one of these things that goes up slightly, making sure there's a entryway to the back. And then, if I were smart, I would redesign my vehicle to make the rear a little bit easier to see out of. Backwards. Yep, already having difficulty. I'm close to lined up, though. Alright, as I said, I'm not going to put you through this. That's as close as I could get. Building... Oh, I forgot there was there are holes. And they're made of gabbro, which I happened to get a bunch of when I was back at the other locations. Does that... Oh, yeah, there's one over here, too. Cool. I also have to figure this out. Actually, it's not much to figure out. It's just... I can't quite see it. That might work. Yeah, that'll do. I'll make it seamless on both sides. Very good. So, Perl. I anticipate that very few of you are software developers. Gabbro, do I not have a specific? I guess not. Let me just put all this stuff away, and then I'll yank it all back out again in a little while, once I've decided exactly good what I'm doing it for. I figured a little bit of color might be a good idea, so I brought some blue along. I also brought a little bit of marble to flesh out these stands. The I don't know, sell thingies in there. They don't have them yet, and I have to do it. So, Perl, Perl, has been around for a very long time now, like 20-something more years than that. It's probably best described as the duct tape of the early web. Back when websites first started to be a thing, Perl was the way to do it, period. I mean, I think Python existed, but it was relatively unknown. Marble, quartz, one piece of marble is not going to help. I'm going to put it away anyways. It enjoyed, I don't know, primacy. It was top dog for a very long time. And now it's relatively unknown and relatively unused. And one of the problems is that the people who still do it, like myself, don't really go out of our way to invite anybody new to come along. Ooh, soapstone, cool. To come along and, you know, participate and broaden our scopes and our population. I can say, before I was director of technology at the place I work now, the guy who was, some 5-6 years ago, decided he was going to use Drupal for new material that would be on our website. And it's PHP, and it's kind of horrible, and, you know, it's probably not really horrible. It's just, yeah, it is. Whatever. And that was because there were a lot of people in the neighborhood, being DC, who use it. Therefore, when he needed to find employees, probably could. In the time since we found out they're still kind of hard to come by, because Drupal has a problem where it lets people in the door too easily, and so you have lots of people who claim to have Drupal experience who only know how to use it and not actually how to develop with it or in it. And that's a problem, and unrelated to Perl. But the thing is, there was a community, and now that Perl has almost no community left, it's hard to find jobs. When you do, they're well paid, because the people who have these old legacy systems written in Perl are kind of desperate for help. But that said, if you need to find a Perl person, it's also hard, and that seems wrong to me right there. But yeah, the problem with talking is I have a really hard time doing anything else. But yeah, well, let's just leave this clip at the fact that Perl's community is small now, and that is something to be overcome. By the way, my talk will be much more sophisticated than this. I'm mostly talking off the top of my head now, getting my brain wrapped around the stuff. Anyways, I'm thinking, so we got engineering stuff over here, and then the engineering stuff over here. Might as well put engineering above this, which means this stuff can be open. So I think I'm going to start doing that. Now, let's see. I'll require, I'm not sure how wide it should be, but it will involve going upwards. The actual room is going to be above here, and this doesn't need to be super tall in here. I don't know. Decisions. Right. I'm thinking I'm making progress. I should probably put it up one more. Let's go around. Excuse me. I don't know what the hell that was. Things. Ew. Anyways, let's see. Yes, it burst them both. Okay, that's good enough. Whoa. Hello. So anyways, yeah. Back to Perl. It's a fine language. It is extremely comparable to every single language that is currently popular. Well, not every single. I mean, it is not the same as Java or C. Those are much, I guess you would say, closer to the metal than the high-level interpreted languages like Perl and Python and Ruby and PHP. But Ruby and PHP and Python are much more used these days. And there's no, whoops, yeah, that's what I want right there. There's no good reason for it. They are not any better than Perl. And Perl actually is better than some of them at specific things like regex or pattern matching expressions in text. Perl is still king of the heap when it comes to that sort of thing. Yeah, it's just that Perl has a community problem. I don't know. It's just at the same time, on a separate, but I'm going to make a related topic. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Communities are often, and local government, and even sometimes national government, are not getting what they need. You've got sort of right-wing, austerity-based factions around the world, not just here in the United States, who are doing everything they can to remove government. And why is debatable, but from my perspective, it often seems like it has something to do with the fact that government, by and for the people, empowers people and keeps the rich at bay. Not necessarily, it doesn't get rid of them, it just keeps them from being dangerous to everyone else, which is actually a genuine problem. And going a bit afield, I will not end up talking about that in the talk. Point being, as a result, a lot of local governments are heavily impaired. Oh, come on! They don't have enough funding, they don't have enough input, they have competing sets of instructions from different groups, all kinds of things. It just really makes their job very hard and inefficient, and then people think, government doesn't work because government is not allowed to work. And so what you have is something called civic hacking, and I'll get into that in the next clip. This whole talking thing is starting to go smoother here. I'm putting access to the... Oh, good. I did it right. Not the easiest thing to do. I'm trying to put access to this. Shoot. Well, that's good enough. To the hall outside of where... this is like the secure zone here, like the quarantine. So beyond that is a ramp to get up to engineering. Does that sound all right to you? And how am I going to do this? Frig. I can't get underneath it. Anyway, so civic hacking is this idea of... Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. But this will work. There, speaking of hacking. Sniffle. What am I getting in? Oh, civic hacking. Why? Like I said, distractible. I had it going good for a minute there, but then not so much. So anyways, this is the idea of basically the community taking it upon themselves to provide a solution when local government hasn't been able to. And this is a very long history. It's actually almost everything that you now can take for granted was at some point hacked together. Government is about managing things and enforcing regulations and making sure the playing field for all those participating in civilization is equal enough and fair enough for all involved. Whether or not it succeeds or not is another question, but it's not necessarily an innovative force. That is a private issue, and a lot of people assume that means business, but that's not necessarily or even necessarily often true. Oftentimes people in the community see, hey, there's a need, and I have an idea about how to fill that need. And there's this lady, Catherine Bracey, who gave a TED Talk. Am I going slow? No, I'm not going slow. About all this, and her favorite example is Benjamin Franklin, who, and yeah, I have to worry a little bit when I give this talk about, is it plagiarism to cite the same examples that someone else cites? I mean, they're good examples, and the point is to spread the information, so hopefully it's okay. Anyways, he never filed a patent. He never tried to take personal credit, or not so much credit, but personal aggrandizement from it. He gave away everything he ever invented, believing that all human knowledge should be freely available to be expounded upon and improved upon and otherwise used. He invented bifocals. He invented the lightning rod. He's pretty much one of the main inventors of American democracy. Whether or not it still exists is questionable, but obviously one of the founding fathers. He came up with the first volunteer fire department for the city of Philadelphia. I mean, there were firefighting facilities before that, but it was strictly... I'm not sure what it was. But the idea of a volunteer fire department didn't exist before that, but Philly was having problems. They couldn't keep up with the number of fires. And look, I'm not accomplishing anything again. Let me put in some walls. Let's take a look over here at the walls and see what the next step is. I think it's andesite. Yes, blocky andesite, which is probably right here. There's a little bit. We'll just do that much. I do need to figure out under here how these walls work, but I'm going to start over here first. Boink, 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 boink. Yep. So there are other examples, including what she gave, Honolulu and what was the other one? Oakland in California. Both ended up coming up with the same. Actually, one was based on the other, but this technology where, because the city couldn't keep up with and didn't have a very good example of a website that could help people who had questions about the area, public decided to make their own, and they ended up doing what's the word? You get a whole lot of people together to do a job, and you do it very quickly. There's a word for it. It's well known. I just can't remember it off the top of my head. But they did this for these, and they ended up making a very, very useful product that gets a lot of traffic. And then there's the example of Mexico City, which I'm just going to do this because my brain can't handle anything else at the moment. Too many multitasking. Mexico City signed, I think, a contract with a private developer to produce an app that for their legislators to follow and track legislation that was being offered and voted on and stuff like that. Their system is not so completely different from ours that it wouldn't be recognized, I think. But the contract they signed was for the equivalent. Granted, they did it in pesos, but in American in dollars, anyways, it would have been 9.3 million. Which is, for such a simple app, a ridiculous amount of money. And the local people who were, skilled recognized that, and they were kind of pissed. It's like, wow, how does someone get off charging that much money for something so simple? And they said it would take a couple of years to produce or something. Maybe it was months. I don't think so. I think they were talking about years. And what they did was the community issued a challenge, or basically to itself. I don't know who did it, but basically, you know what? This might be too tall on this side. They said, okay, we will give a 9,300, so 1/10,000th of the size. And you know what? I can start having caps on these things. 1/10,000th the amount of money to produce a viable app that accomplished the same thing and do it in 10 days instead of years. And let's see, where's the number? It was like 175, I might be misquoting, apps were created, and 5 of them were so sophisticated enough to be submitted to the various, app stores that are applicable. I can't remember. There was, for different devices, obviously, and then different versions. 5 were submitted and are in basically in use by those same legislators from Mexico City. So it was a success, and I'm not sure if they gave out 9,300 to all 5 individually or what, but obviously there was a lot of money to spare after having saved themselves 9.5 million. Or 9.3, sorry. Given all this, I was going to put the thing as close to the ship as possible, which means I can extend that out, though I don't have the means. I must have the means. Actually, I have the means right here. Probably not enough, though. There are a number. Yep. There are a number of things below me that will have more, so that's not a problem. Anything the rest of these doing? Yeah, okay. So, actually, well, let me put these down as well. And this here. Okay. So that way it will run up to and be contained by this. So yeah, that was civic hacking. Let's... Sorry about my chair. Let's bring this down a little. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh, crap. Can I even get it? Yes! And that's not it. This is. Okay. So I'll do the same thing here. Oh my gosh, somebody... Never mind. Oh god, sorry. I am all distracted. But I did want there to be some sort of support. Granted, the support for this room will probably come mostly from the ceiling, but just something that the eye can understand. Ow. Dang it. Let's get this one then. What? Where'd it go? Oh, did it still end up there? Well, anyways, you know, I've told you that Perl is fine language that is underappreciated, and that civic engagement, civic hacking, is a necessary thing, especially in this time where people seem to be so dead set against giving government the level of resources it needs to do the job that people are taking for granted and then whining about when it doesn't get done. So oops, that's right. Now I have to go around. Actually, I can go through here. No, I don't. Where am I going? I can go through here because this is where I'm going. All right. So point being, I need more basalt, which is on this side. Bring the two together, okay? Should make sense. Perl's a fine language. So much of what's going to be happening in the future is like a... I mean, the web's... We have it. It's here. You can't go back. It doesn't make sense. I was just thinking, up in Maine, the town of Islesboro, they've never had internet before. I mean, they have recently, but it's really junky kind of internet. And they're complaining about how life, you know, it's just, they can't get through life now without a decent internet. So they're asking for internet to be installed, and that's perfectly fine. It's just, if people as conservative as those folk are now completely addicted to the internet, it's not going away. And beyond that, there's also the whole Internet of Things thing, where your fridge is connected and your car is connected, and they can talk to each other. I don't know why your fridge would want to talk to your car. I suppose if you're driving and you don't know what's in your fridge, you could ask the fridge what's in there so I can stop and get groceries, and the car can tell you, oh, you know, there's a grocery store like 2 blocks from here if you go around that way. It doesn't matter. Those things that can be done with this are going to have to be invented by people. And my idea, my position with this talk is, how about Perlers stop moping around? Not that they're moping, because they're actually very productive, very busy. So a large part of this is just they're too busy to notice that there aren't as many of them as there used to be. But be that as it may, go out into the community, find problems that need solving, solve them with Perl, give them to the local town. You know, if you make a pothole tracker for the town, you've made their job easier. But then you can also hand over the software to the town. Here, use it. Keep adding data to it. Build more apps on top of it to report to people, hey, if you don't want to, you know, there's a big pothole in the center lane, avoid it, whatever. Brain fart. I love it when that happens. They're going to eventually need to maintain it. They're going to not necessarily know how to use it. They're going to ask people, like, you know, for something on the scale of a town, they can afford to hire kids out of school who are just learning how to program. They can afford to hire people who haven't had their first gig yet, you know, who are just out of college and need that first gig, but because they have no experience, no Googles want to hire them, which is sort of understandable, but a actual problem. Well, okay, the town can, and they'll pay a small, you know, they'll pay what they can afford to pay, and for the first gig, that might be enough. We have a new intern now who is very skilled and will learn very quickly and will very rapidly be underpaid and underpayable by our standards. You know, people with much bigger budgets will want him eventually, and that's good. But back to the town thing, they're going to need to ask someone to come do Perl for them, which is going to add someone to the community, or at least give a job to someone who is already in it. And that's a positive. I mean, let's use some of this, because I am definitely not making any progress here. That brings something to life, you know. It all of a sudden, instead of the community shrinking, it's growing, and that's good for Perl, and it's good for the community because the community got something out of it as well. And that's the JKL. I don't know. That's the general thrust of what will be a 20-minute talk. I will do a much better job in person. I still have to write the thing and make slides, but I'm just using you guys for guinea pigs right now. How does that look? I want a little bit more though. Let's get some soapstone. No. I need more than that. Let's use this. So I think that's the end of the rant anyways. I could rant about climate change if you like. Yes? No? Sorry, Facebook. I don't live in Maine anymore. I would like to live in Maine again because it's good and the cost of living is a lot less. Then again, they pay a lot less too. But point being, I would rather live there. And so I follow the Bangor Daily News, which is pretty genuinely middle of the road. I mean, they actually publish what people send in to them for editorials and op-eds and stuff. And how do I get back in here? Once I've sealed myself off, it gets tougher. Actually, I could have gone through here, couldn't I? I don't even know my own way around my own ship. Anyways, there was an article talking about climate change and what. Of course, 9 out of 10 people commenting were deniers instantly. It was just they came out of the woodwork for this, and that, of course, stirs me up quite a bit. Now, I suppose I should have a ceiling on this, don't you think? I'm just not sure if I'm there yet. Gosh, I haven't made hardly any progress, have I? All right, so yeah, spiel complete. Project far from. Ooh, how far can I go? Let's go that far. But you know, progress is progress is progress is progress, I guess. This is how far I went, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. I think I'm going to put some glass here so you can see down without being exposed to. I'm not sure. I think I might cover up this space. And it occurs to me that it's not just... I mean, there may be a separate room here. This needs to be open. That's for sure. Oops. Well, whatever. But up top here is the connector for what would be a laser cannon. It's sort of on the center axis, just like this, and it's up top. Though there ought to be one underneath as well, you'd think, in a sane universe. Maybe I can put one in. I mean, there's nothing about the game that said there wasn't a laser turret underneath as well as above. But be that as it may, it would be roughly above here. So I'm thinking part of this space is going to have to be involved in allowing the weapons officer the access to that. Though, frankly, the access might be computational, and engineering only has access to it for repairs and such. So again, not a whole lot of progress. I mean, it is, I guess. I have the official engineering room, and it has access to these areas. Some of this empty space is going to have to be utilized for something, that's for sure. But you know what? Sun's going down. My interest is waning. I have a strong suspicion, really, that when this project is done, the server may shut down. No one's playing. I mean, Oplek is the only other person who might be playing, and I haven't seen him in a few weeks, in part because I haven't been able to be on. So he may still be playing. But when this is done, I think, I think that may be it. We'll find out. I'll still play, but maybe even still record. But the server itself, maybe not so much. That way I can get into like trying 1.8 and stuff in a single player, maybe a survival. I've done that before. All unknowns at this point. But no need to pay for a server if no one's playing. What I will do is, if that happens, though, I will package this server up and put it somewhere where you guys can download and look around inside our ships and our buildings and add more if you want. That would be kind of cool. But I don't know. I guess for now, this episode's gone a little long enough. I'll probably spend some time finishing off things. Maybe putting the ceiling in here, since that's going to be awfully boring. And the only interesting thing about that is the part of this panel that goes down needs to have its up part. But that's it. That's it. So I can do that off screen. I'll just show it to you next time. So anyways, next time. There may be another week without episodes, as this past one was, just because, again, in 7 days I'll be presenting, and that weekend will be kind of used up. So we'll see. Anyways, until then, have a good one.